Welcome to the Your Limitless Leadership Podcast with Jenny and Brent Widman. Here, we believe leadership isn't just about titles. It's about how you show up in every aspect of life. Whether you're leading a business, building a legacy as an entrepreneur, guiding your family, or striving to lead yourself first, this podcast is for you. Join us as we dive into real conversations about growth, decision-making, and the courage it takes to lead with purpose. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and equipped to become the limitless leader you are meant to be. This is Your Limitless Leadership Podcast. Let's lead without limits. Welcome to Your Limitless Leadership Podcast. And I have a dude who is really special to my heart. And obviously he probably knows that, but I've known him for years. And I don't know, just who you are as a person, man, just your energy, the way you hold yourself and talk to people and the way you care and your heart and all these, I could talk about you all day long. Just how funny you are. Just a damn good person. His name's Neil Van Dam. He is one of the, in my eyes for sure, top advisors you will ever meet at Northwestern Mutual, or just in the industry for sure. And we'll get into a little bit about that, but just who he is as a dad and the things he does as well, the places he's been. I got to say, I'm really excited for this one. Thank you for being on here.
My pleasure.
Yeah. I do have to give a little background. He's been there for almost 20 years. He's been there for about 18 years. So he knows what he's doing for sure. 3 kids. He has Violet, Arthur, and Lily, which I'm guessing are pretty special to you, right? Well, Violet's 12, Arthur's 7, and then Lily's 4. So you got a lot going on in your world too at the same time. But
yeah,
again, thanks for being on here, dude. I truly appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
Tell us about you, like just your, I don't know, the evolution of Neil. How did you, because you've been doing this for a long time and you've been in the industry and it's crazy how fast time goes, but just kind of give us where you're from, your background, how you got to where you are, just all about Neil. Put it that way.
Well, background. I was born near Toronto, early 80s. Parents were first-generation farmers that went bankrupt as soon as they had their 3rd kid, which happened to be me. So they moved out west to Calgary, lived there till I was about 5. Then we went down to Idaho Falls, Idaho for about another 6 years. And then I moved to North Dakota for my high school years. So moved around a lot as a kid, had to kind of recreate myself every time I did, which also gave me the opportunity to recreate myself. Kind of interesting. I was having a conversation with my dad the other day and he's like, I feel so bad that we had to do that to you guys. And I said to him, like, it was the best thing you could have done. And both my 2 brothers are very successful in what they do. And just not growing up in that same comfortable environment your whole life was awesome for us. High school for me was I was a C- student, just enough to not get yelled at, and very social. When it came to college, everybody was going to college, and I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't think that's for me. I'm either gonna join the Peace Corps or go be a stuntman. Those were the 2 options that I was drastically looking at. And then my mom came up to me and said, well, I know someone who just joined the Coast Guard and he's jumping out of helicopters. He's playing in a band. He seems to be having a good time. I'm like, yeah. So Peace Corps, you do that for a 2-year period of time and you come out with $5,000 and a thank you. I'm like, well, that doesn't sound that great. And then military never sounded like the thing I wanted to do. Stuntman, you pretty much get paid nothing unless you're really successful and you come out with a whole bunch of injuries. So then I decided, I'm like, okay, I'll try the Coast Guard. I never wanted to do that for a lifetime, but it's military, so it was a 4-year commitment. When I got into the Coast Guard, one of my really good friends that I met just after boot camp on my first ship, he had been a merchant marine, so he had sailed around 80 different countries. He was 28 years old, so super old compared to me being 18. And now I look at 28-year-old as pretty young. But he came in and we lived on the ship and you had to get so many things done in order to advance to the next level, the next rank. And everybody else was playing Xbox and whatnot, and this guy was just getting things done. And he's like, "Well, follow me," because he is way more advanced than the people that were senior to us. And so I just kind of hooked up to that guy, and within months, I had outranked a handful of people that started with me. And I learned, I'm like, man, he's not working that hard. This is like, it just kind of became the norm of don't do what everybody else is doing and just do what that 1% is doing. And so quickly advanced. And then through my military career, advanced very quickly in those 4 years. I mean, I was on track to be in 6. When I got out, it was just a matter of time. But so that was really nice for me. When I was in the military, I also had someone talking about stocks, and it was one of the cooks on our ship. He was a weird guy, but I heard him talking to this skateboarder dude that I went to boot camp with, and he's like, "What you need to do is buy individual stocks, and you can make so much money on this." And he's like, "I got $200,000," and the skateboarder guy was like, "Yeah, cool." Like, as I'm overhearing this, the next day I sat by him like, "Do you know anything about stocks?" And just let him go through his whole spiel again. So he taught me how to buy them online, which I have the individual certificates. Maybe that ages me a little bit for each of the first stocks I ever bought. And I still have them, which is annoying because I get like a 38-cent dividend check from Walmart every quarter. But it's cool because you can't see them, but they're on the wall in my office. And and then just really fell in love with the idea of growing wealth. So I'm a young guy making money. Didn't really have expenses in the military. I lived on a ship, so I just saved like 90% of what I was making. And then every time we'd go out to the bar or whatever, I'd be asking people, "What are you doing for money? How are you making money?" And I just really fell in love with the idea of entrepreneurship, which was just so fun to learn about that. And then I realized, well, if I can make a career out of doing what I love to do anyways, that that spurred me becoming a financial advisor. So then fast forward to me getting out, going to college. Then I was straight A, top of the class, because when you go to school for something you actually want to learn, if learning's the goal, it's a lot different. And I was just giving you a hard time because you don't even have enough room on your nameplate to put all the initials behind my name on there, so I had to shortchange myself. Um, but that's now I run a team of nerds, and we have a lot of fun.
Man, that I'm gonna come back to that part, the team as well, because you humbled that one, and that's where we should spend some time too, because you've built a team of 9 people,
Mhm.
and that's no small task, man, by any means. And you just kind of breezed right over that. But even the letters behind your name shows that you've put a lot of work in it to where you came from to where you are. And I go back to even the moving around. How did that? I know you touched on it a little bit, but how did that help you? Obviously, where you're at today. And here's kind of why I asked. Like my wife did the same thing. She moved probably 10, I think it was 10 to 15 times when she was a kid or something like that, and she loved it. And for people like me, I never moved. So it's hard for us to wrap our mind around, but telling your dad that thank you, I got to think that's really impacted you and how you talk to people and approach people and how easy it is or maybe easier, I guess. How has that impacted you?
Well, in a lot of ways, like everyone as an adult has had to recreate themselves many times over. I mean, you've shared with me some of your past and how you've restarted many times. Um, it's extremely difficult to go through a change like that. Actually, today, so it's May 1st. My first major employee just actually left, so today's her first day off, and so I just texted her and like, "Congratulations on your promotion to friend," because this is like the first time I'm not paying her anymore. um, which is it's weird. I mean, she's been such a big part of our legacy for so long that because I've had to step into that uncomfortable, like, okay, what's the next phase look like? It's just I know we'll be fine. It's going to be different. We'll find some fun in there. But even that, I mean, we went to Mexico as a team last week, and she came with us,
Good
knowing
for you.
that she was going. So it was kind of a last hurrah for everybody. We always do major team trips every time we hit a major wealth management goal. So for us, it's every time
Really?
we get another $100 million. Um, the first major one we did was the Kentucky Derby, which is also this weekend. You can't tell as I'm wearing my Derby socks. I miss
So, okay, because that's not normal either. You know this, but I've been doing this for a while, and I've yet to hear that people take the whole team every time you hit a milestone. How did you start that? Why did you start that? How did that come about?
Well, when I first started in this career, I was pretty new, and someone had said to me, if you have $100 million under management and you're charging 1%, that's $1 million a year.
Yep.
And in my mind at that time, trying to make like $12,000 a year, that just seemed like a number that was so unachievable that it would be just just I'd be done at that point. If I can get there as a career goal, that would be amazing. What I didn't realize was how much overhead comes with building a much
Yeah.
larger practice. But so when we got to 200 million, that's when I said to the team, like, if we can hit this, that's double what my lifetime goal was. Then we're gonna go to the Kentucky Derby because I always wanted to go there, and we're gonna do it first class and like fly over there, right? And we were in the more bougie area of it, and it was such a fun trip, and it just brought everybody together. And this was everyone from the front office secretary to the salespeople.
Yeah.
That it was just such a blast that we said, okay, well, we need to start setting other milestones for different things we've done.
How do you think that has helped? Because that's really intriguing to me, man. Just the way you invest in them, not just as an employee, but as a person. How do you think that has helped you over? And let's take the humble out of the equation for a second, right? How has that helped to grow your business and helped you over time?
Well, I think most people struggle with the why, like
Hmm.
why make more. I've struggled with this a ton because there's the yes, I'd like to make more money. I'd like to be able to afford to do these other things. But at some point you just like, do I really care about a new vehicle or something like that as much as I'd like to help other people? And some of those other people are one of our clients. We discount our fees. And we just had a conversation about that on this last trip. I said, should we still be discounting, or do we stop for new clients? Because maybe that's a when I look at our revenue um, per client and what it could be versus what it is, I know we're not running our business as efficiently as possible. The
Okay.
amount of charitable hours that our team puts in, which basically they're still getting their wage, but they're out in the community doing good things. We had a couple hundred hours in a month. It's like that's basically I'm paying someone full time to go out and do charitable work, and these are not low paid employees either. Um, but that's my why. I mean, the bigger we get, the more we make. We don't need to raise our fees because we're happy with where we're at from that standpoint. But if us not raising our fees means our clients are actually making more money, which then that turns around to saying like, oh, you're charging less than my other person. Sometimes most of our clients have no idea what they're paying in fees. We tell them because we have to, but they don't care. It's about the relationship and it's about caring. I've also had some of our best clients say, just 2 weeks ago, a lady said, I love seeing that you guys are out doing things, like whether it's a hockey game or a baseball game, as a team outside of office hours, because that means that you actually like each other and want to spend some time together. And I like working with a team that likes each other versus just good at their
Wow.
job. And I never thought of it that way, but it was good feedback to hear.
And it's cool that other people notice that as well, that you just do it because you do it. It's out of that. I mean, you can just tell. how much you care about people and care about, it's almost giving them the life that you have as well, giving that back to them and being part of something that isn't just, well, I work for somebody, right? We work together.
Well, and they
You
get paid a salary. I get all the entrepreneurial risk. I get the downside exposure, but I also get the upside exposure of that too. Which
absolutely. And I
starting,
have to think that keeps you motivated too at the same time to take care of them too.
yeah.
Huh. Which, okay, you touched on that as well. The C minus student. So you have proved that a C minus student or what have you can be uber successful. And you may not look at yourself like that, but what was the path there? Like, did you ever struggle with that? Like, is this, can I do this? What, when did that change and how did that change?
As far as can I do this, I was never afraid that I knew that I was going to be an advisor and a good advisor. I mean, if you
Okay.
look at the books I was reading compared to what everybody else was, and every time I'd be talking about money with folks, I realized that 90% of the population does not share my passion about this. But you talk to 15 random people about like the Minnesota Vikings and who their next quarterback is going to be or whatever. I mean, I can't tell you who the quarterback of the Vikings is, and I probably shouldn't say that on air because I'm going to get some enemies. But I just don't care about something
Yeah.
that a lot of people spend so much time into. But I do care about the idea of business and growing business, and that's what passion. That is my passion. It's not just this business. I own some other companies too, and that is my hobby. And it's not about the end goal as much as just the idea of growing and starting something, and what can this do that it was never a doubt that this was going to work. One of my friends who's
Mm.
actually coming over this weekend said to me, he's like, I remember about 10 years ago when things were really, really tough for you financially. I've been in debt over my head so many times, but he's like, I remember you telling me that you were thinking of quitting. And that just blew my mind because I knew how much you loved what you do, that you would even consider that. I'm like, oh, yeah, you didn't know how much debt I was. um, every time you get to that point though where you're just on the verge of bankruptcy, it seemed like one good case would come in to um,
Hmm.
get out of debt and then spur the next thing, and that's not the best way to run a business, and most people can't handle that either. I think C minus students are probably better at the risk of entrepreneurial because they're maybe too stupid to calculate all the risks and just have that blind, I believe in myself, I'm willing to risk everything. If it doesn't end well, then I'll start over somewhere else, and I know it'll work. But fortunately, I think we're past most of the hump now, but I got a lot of overhead.
Okay, go back to that for me a little bit when you just talked about like you pushed through. That's what I've come to see, and I'm guessing you have over time as well, just talking to people or reading books and all the stuff. That's where most quit. It's not the exciting new part that we're jacked up to
Yeah.
build a business, and it's not where you are now. Like we're okay. It's this part in the middle when we're unsure. What kept you going? Why did you keep going?
So you can run this type of business without multiple staff. In fact, a lot of people I know that are very successful like share one employee with another advisor and try to do it as cheap as possible. Um, if I screwed up now, I don't just screw it up for myself. I screw it up for my team and their livelihood. And I think if anything, that fires me up more than anything. The We do a lot with charity. I think of our 10th employee as basically an empty chair that is for charity. So we have a, a good amount of money that we have set aside to go to that employee every year anyways. Some months are a lot higher than others, but we have an annual goal that we want to make sure gets put out there. Some of that is in the tax deductible we tell everybody about. Some of it is just that we had someone lost their child and we want to help pay for a funeral or something like that. That is just kind of that under the table type thing that nobody needs to know about except for just that one-to-one communication. Um, So that's the fail safe I've built just in case things go horribly wrong and we have that, like the stock market crashes or COVID 2.0 or something like that. It's nice to know if I have to cut an employee, I don't have to cut a living employee, but luckily we haven't had to do either along the way. And it's just one of those things, even when you don't have the money, if you get the ask for something that you're passionate about, we've written the check and it always seems to work out. And I hope it always does.
Wow.
But knowing that I'm not just doing it for me, I think if I was just doing it for me, I would have given up a long time ago, to be honest.
When did you start that? How long has that been going on?
Giving charity?
Yeah. The 10th employee.
Well, it wasn't always the 10th employee. First, it was the first employee.
I'll give
the
that to
when I was 18, I read a book. I think it was Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within.
Okay. Yep.
One of those types of books. I started getting into that, and it talked about writing down your goals. So I had a board on the wall that I wrote everything, and I remember exactly where I was. I was in Grafton, Virginia, when I was stationed in Virginia, and we were going to rent movies from like a Blockbuster video. And I remember just leaving the parking lot, and it just hit me that I need to make 3 million and give 2 million away. Like that, just like it was one of those like clear as day things in my head. And that's when I thought $1 million you could live the rest of your life with, and everything
Wow.
great. But I'm like, yeah, if I get 5% on that, it's $50,000 a year. There's way more than I need to live on. Life's changed a little bit, um, so that really just became kind of my driving. Like that's what I need to do, and I've added to those numbers since. But it's really never been about growing it for me. No, there's selfish things along the way.
For
When I take
sure.
my team on a trip, I go on that trip too. I have a lot of fun.
I sit here and listen to you, and that's giving that away and starting that when you're what, 19, 20 years old and thinking that way.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I know this is supposed to be about leadership and all this stuff, but where did that come from, man? Like that's for most 18 or 19-year-olds, we're not thinking about I need to make 3 million so I can give 2 million away. We're not thinking about charity. We're not thinking about making $1 million and all these different things. Was that just who you were, or did that come from mom or dad or people you surrounded yourself with?
I mean, my parents have always been big thinkers. So
Okay.
like I started this by talking about their bankruptcy, and
Yep.
I don't want to give any information on their life that they didn't tell me I could share, but um, they started over and have done extremely well for themselves over the last. And it wasn't while I was in high school and living in the home that they were successful financially. It was after I had left and joined the military. All of a sudden, one of my dad's businesses really took off. But
Mm,
they were both successful at what they did. They always worked hard on what they did. They gave everything for us. Three boys in hockey. I mean, they were in debt every
yeah.
Christmas for the season, and then all summer they'd try to build out a debt just to do all these things for us. Because we didn't live close to any other extended family, we never had the like cousins and everyone gets together. It was kind of the core group, but you see it in both my brothers, two very, very different people than me. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm definitely more the wild card of the family, where my oldest brother he was the paramedic that ended up taking over my dad's business. And then my middle brother, he basically runs the whole Canadian. Well, he does run the Canadian division for a very large egg company,
Oh,
um,
wow.
a national egg company that you would know of. Um,
I love it,
you know,
man.
so,
I mean, it goes back to, in the simplest terms, you're talking about people you surround yourself with
yep.
and the mindset of which, because even the guy you met in the Coast Guard, who's 28, but is thinking a little bit differently than everybody else, you attach to him. And how does that propel your career too at the same time?
Yeah, he changed my life, hands down. And now he runs a very, very large company in Germany.
Really?
So yeah, just
I hope, I just hope people are listening to you and hear how this works, that it's just because you are where you start doesn't mean that's where you go. And it is the people that you have to be, got to be intentional about it and go look for it instead of thinking it's just going to come to you or just going to happen at the same time.
Well, and when we first met, I was just kind of in the process of possibly taking over another person's practice. So
Mm-hmm.
my practice was doing what it was, but then this gentleman identified me. Um, Part of the reason he did was because some of the initials behind my name actually was the one that I cut out that didn't fit on there. Um, and he's like, "Oh, that's great that you actually took the initiative to go above and beyond and do some of this." He, yeah, he came up to me and said,
If you're listening to this and you're thinking, that's me, you're not alone. Let's call it what it is. You've got the drive, you've got the experience, like you have it. You have it. You know what you're doing. But something still feels off at times, or things could be better. We know that they can be. You know, there's more. What we do is we help committed leaders go from guessing and grinding to really leading with clarity and structure and confidence. We're offering complimentary DNA strategy calls. We're going to evaluate how you're leading, where performance might be breaking down. It happens. And what really needs to tighten up within your business, within your leadership, within those people around you. Then we're going to take this next step. And what we're going to do is build accountability, the skills, and the systems to create that consistent or those consistent results around it. If you're open to digging in a little bit, the link is below in the show notes. Just book your DNAcall.com and we will find time for you and we will dig in with you. All right, let's get back to it.
"That's great that you've done this. I respect that. We should work together. Eventually, I'm going to retire, and I'd
Hmm.
like to pass my business off to someone who I think can handle it." And he didn't know me hardly at all at that point. We started working together a little bit more, and then eventually he identified me as a successor, and I bought him out. Finally made my last payment to him about 2 years ago, which was nice. But for that, that was a total vote of confidence. If he hadn't reached out to me, I do not, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am. And he ran his business a lot different than I run my business. But he basically said, if you can take what I have and you could springboard off of it, he's like, just the way you think, he's like, man, you're gonna make this grow so fast, and it's gonna be so fun to see what you've done. And it's just really really cool. One of the initials behind my name, that's CFP, Certified Financial
Yep.
Plan.
Yep.
He had tried for that. He took the test 3 different times and he failed it 3 different times. But every meeting that we had with a joint client in his last couple of years, he would say, "Neil's a CFP." He's like, "You don't know how hard that is. That's so great." And I mean, the clients didn't know that he had been trying and trying and trying. He's a brilliant man, just a really bad test taker. But every meeting, he would just talk about how great it is that I have that, and just totally humble himself to build me up. He didn't have to. He could just be like, "Neil's the guy who's going to buy me out, and I'm going to retire. See you later." But he didn't. He was so excited for that, and I just an awesome role model.
What did he see in you? Again, take the humble out of the equation for me for a second, because I know it'll be like, you said he didn't know you that well, but it sounds like you were the chosen one, if you will. And he said, this is the guy that I want to take care of my clients and my people and his team and all the different things. What do you think that was?
As a new advisor, so with Northwestern Mutual, which I had never planned on staying with Northwestern Mutual. I mean, at that time, I really wanted to get into investments. I was looking more towards like a Goldman Sachs type thing like that. Um, I wasn't going to stay in North Dakota either. I just moved back here after the Coast Guard because that's where my girlfriend was living at the time, and I'm like, we were going to get married, and it's close enough to family. I lived in Hawaii for about 3.5 years. So after living in Hawaii, it's nice to get back to family. Like
Yeah.
you really miss people. Um, so so I was happy to come back here, but I was not planning on staying here.
Huh.
Um, and then Northwestern Mutual had the best internship. So I figured if I could do really good as an intern at this company, then I could pretty much write my ticket, because it's not like my high school marks had anything wonderful. And I went to Minnesota State University Moorhead. It's not like jumping off the page from a prestigious school, but they took most of my military credits, so I was able to skip a year um, in college. So that worked out really good. But so as an intern, I was number 3 out of about 2,200 people that year ranked in the company.
Okay.
And so that
Cool.
kind of caught the attention of him right away. And that's just, I mean, you're trying to sell life insurance to college students or just anyone who will meet with you. But I didn't want to sell life insurance. I wanted to deal with investments, and he was the investment specialist. So as an intern, I got my Series 7, and I was the only one who was working at night, where most of these other people who were starting out, it took them a year or two to get their investment license, and they didn't even let them get their Series 7 because they're like, that's a harder test. You're not going to want to pass it. And I had to push and push and push for it. Um, so then when I was the only one who was willing to work past 6 o'clock, all these younger people that weren't licensed would ask me to do joint work, even though they were working full time and I was just an intern because I was still going to school full time. Um, that was kind of neat. And then they ended up dropping out of the business, so I got to retain those clients, and that helped me grow by putting in the extra work. But it was just one of those things that somebody saw it. Like, I wasn't advertising it, but you
You
notice.
do things. Yeah, you don't have to yell it from the rooftops if you do the right things.
But
I
then as
mean,
soon as I had my daughter, I stopped working nights.
what I was going to say is, even that you just said about Series 7, there's people asking you because you saw something that other people really didn't have and said, well, this is how I can separate myself a little bit. It's not this, it's not these big things that I feel like people, and correct me if I'm wrong here, man, think that we're gifted or you're gifted and you have all this special talent and all these things. You just kept doing the next thing.
Yeah, I've hired gifted people. They're really
Yeah,
good at what they do. So I'm surrounded myself with much smarter people than me,
that's
much more consistent people than me too, which is what I needed.
so. Tell me about that because you just touched on your team. I mean, building into, is it 9 people or 8 people? Well,
It's
how many
9
people?
now.
Okay, so it is 9
Yeah,
plus one that isn't actually a body. But how have you built that? How do you like? What's your process? I know this is a big question, so I can give you time to process it. But your idea around leadership. What are some of the things you do? Obviously, you take them on trips and what have you when you hit certain goals. How do you find those good people? Obviously, because Fargo isn't New York. It's not Minneapolis. It's smaller. Let's call it what it is.
I've never placed an ad. I've never used a headhunter or anything like that. It's
Mm.
all been just. Um, I'm a big believer in manifesting.
Okay.
Uh,
Love it.
Whenever I need someone for a certain position, I'll bring it up to people. And I think I've just done a really good job of networking where when I bring it up to the right person, almost within a week every time it's been like, I know someone. So when this lady on my team said that she was going to leave, and in this was the end of March, my conversation with her was, I understand. Tell you what, you've been so loyal to me. We're going to pay you for all of April. Give you some time to figure out what's going on, how you're leaving, and then if you're willing to just help us slowly transition out so we can get someone else in. And I felt really bad about it because she was a 13-year employee that I absolutely adore. But the next day, I had it filled, and 2 days later the person was starting, which was good because then she had a chance to train him in a little bit. But it was just one of those. I asked about 4 people, and one person says, I know someone. I'm like, I do know that person. Yes, they would
Hmm.
do this. Um, some other people have been advisors, and they loved what they loved the career path of it, but they just weren't business owners. And
Yeah.
and so I take on all the business risk. I pay them a really good salary. No one on my team is paid commission.
Okay.
It's all salaried, and they like that because if I have the option to sell you something that's going to make 10,000 of commission versus something that's going to make me 2,000 of commission, and I know the 2,000 is the right one for you,
Spot on.
they sell you the right thing. And that shows. When people are trying to sell something, they know they're going to get paid more by selling one versus the other. Clients can see that. And I'm the only one on the team who makes the difference between the two. And I'm so big picture. I don't look at the individual. I
Yeah.
should. That's a shame on me as a business owner. I have people on the team that do, but then they can give me the statistics on how it was, not the personal, like, oh, we could have sold that person more. It's what should we have? And it's nice not to have that issue on the team.
I feel like that's just abundance. It's an abundance mentality, but it's
Absolutely.
all going to work out in the end. Doesn't really matter. It's when you do the right things for people, because if you think of it that way too, you have X amount of clients. Would you have all of those clients if you were trying to do the other thing, go from the 2 to the 10?
No, we
And
wouldn't.
that you wouldn't.
Same with
Nope.
referrals and prospecting. When we used to work together and like, you need to ask that. And I always struggled with it. And even now, I mean, I think we've got 2 referrals today of people that have reached out to us saying that, hey, so and so said nice things about you, and I'm looking for someone. And it's really just more of that natural. Now we are telling people that we're open to taking on more people. Even myself, most of the referrals that we get, I might be in the first meeting or two, but it's usually with another advisor. You could probably tell right away, fairly ADHD from I got 15 different ideas, like we can unpack this and this and this and this. But you don't want me as the advisor. You want me as the person who brings 15 different ideas, and then you want the Brent, the engineer type person to be like, okay, now we're going to keep you in track and we're going to follow you
Oh, I love it.
them through and make sure it works. So I'm the person who gets them set up and then hands them to the person who's consistent and going to make sure that you're following the plan.
I love that, man. And the fact that you give them the opportunity to work with you is really what it is. Because there is something to be said about having the call it what it is. People can see it, the give a shit factor, right? Like you really care about people around you. So yeah. Tell me about this radio show. You haven't touched on that yet, but obviously philanthropy and charity has a big spot in your heart. So how did you get into that of all things?
Well, I mean, to call it a radio show, it is a radio show, I guess.
It's all right.
Um, I knew some people at the radio station,
Okay.
and they knew how involved I am with not just one or two charities, but with many different charities. And they're like, every time someone brings something up about charity, your name comes up, which is great. It was slightly unintentional, slightly intentional of kind of we do market towards that. One of the initials behind my name is CAP, so Chartered Advisor in Philanthropy, uh,
Okay.
which is a big passionate part of what I do. When the clients that I do work with, when someone brings up charitable goals or tax efficient charitable giving, then my team brings me in on that meeting, which is so
Mm,
fun because I just get to come and talk about how can we help this charity, how can we increase your impact to them, and maybe the IRS doesn't get quite as much out of it if we do it right, but most people are okay not giving to that charity. Uh, so so this radio show literally is just I sponsor it. Radio is not free, and most of these nonprofits don't have a lot of extra money, especially the more local ones. And and so we wanted to give them a voice to be able to come on for half an hour and just talk about whatever they want. So it's not about financial planning or anything like that. I just get to co-host it, and one, it's great for me because I just get to learn more about what they're doing and how they're making an impact. Partially for me, I was a little jaded because I felt like there's a lot of charities that do the exact same thing.
mm.
Do you guys not realize that you're doing the same thing as this other, like you're both helping dogs? Like, I'm pretty sure if you just combine your resources, you can make a bigger impact. And the inefficiency of it was really bothering me.
Okay.
And so as much as I wanted to help, I also wanted to just be like, I got to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
What I've really found out is um, most of these, at least in the Fargo Moorhead area, um, charities will be like 90% an overlap, but a 10% differential. And where they can't help because it's like, no, that's not within our mission statement, but they're all working together. They all know each other. And it's just such a fun community of, hey, we can't help you, but you got to talk to XYZ charity. And they all have different budgets for different things. And it's actually a really cool web of how these nonprofits are working together. Where in my uh, mind, not knowing it going into this, was just thinking, yeah, you wanted to say you started it so you could brag to your friends and call it the Brent Widman charity, just to like, I
Just to
found
say,
this need. Like, yeah, but there's already someone solving that, and you could have just donated to them. Um, it, there is a little bit of that, but
okay,
most of it isn't, and it's the ones that have hung around for 5 or more years have realized, hey, we can work really closely with this other nonprofit. And
there's
so
something.
now it's just fun. We've been doing that for about 2 years, and very little overlap. But when we get someone in and they're talking about one of their other charitable partners, and because there's not really an angle to the show, or trying to say, well, we gotta promote so and so,
Hmm.
they can say how grateful they are for some of these other charities, and it's just kind of become this fun community event. Maybe no one listens to it, and it's just me, but at least I get to have fun learning about them.
You get to learn, yeah, and you get to help them. Hopefully, somebody listens to it, and you get to help them, or even connect the dots too at the same time. That's
Yeah,
love that way.
we have had some of those charities have asked us to come in and give seminars to their donors about giving in a more tax efficient way. So whether giving appreciated stock, or if you're over 70 and a half, and you want to take some money from your IRA and avoid taxation on that. So it has, from a selfish business standpoint, it wasn't the direct intention of doing this, but I mean, it's probably at least broken even for time
Hmm.
from referrals.
All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot here a little bit, just so you know, because I know conversations we've had in the past. I'll put you on the spot and not put you on the spot about working out. So, yeah, funny story, but you have drastic. One of the things I can clearly see about you, you've drastically changed what you used to do and have done. But we went and ran. Randomly, my brother and I ran the Fargo Marathon, and guess who I see?
Gasping for air on the sideline.
Who didn't train for it. He just ran it, which tells you you can pretty much do anything if you set your mind to it. Tell me about what you're doing now for workouts, how it's changed who you are. Just tell me about that. And then I want to know about,
Feel free
obviously,
to
your,
follow me for financial advice, not lifestyle advice.
love it.
Well, when I talked about that board when I was 18, that I had put it on the wall saying these are all the things I wanted to accomplish, and I had accomplished everything on that list with the exception of running a marathon. And every year I was getting older and older and older, and I had just turned 40 the week prior to that marathon. And I was going through a stressful time in my life. I got divorced, and it
Mhm.
was just right at that time. So instead of drinking, I decided I need to do something else. So just in the mornings or whenever I was stressed, I'd go run, and
Good
one
for you.
mile turned into 2 or 3 miles, and 4 miles. And then actually, it was literally the week before the marathon was my 40th birthday. And there's a cemetery about 7 miles away, a veteran cemetery. So I'm like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to run there and back, which would have been the furthest I had ran. And I probably shouldn't say this, but I had drank about half a bottle of bourbon the night before with my brother, celebrating my last day of my 30s. And I got up, didn't even have a drink of water or anything, just put shoes on and decided to run. And I just kept going, and then I was at about 9 miles. I'm like, well, I can at least run a half marathon today. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I just ran half a marathon on nothing but bourbon fuel in my body. I, I I could do the full next week. And I was thinking maybe I would do it and just not tell anyone. So I didn't tell anyone. You were actually the only person I knew just because you said you were coming to town. I'm like, just in case I die, I want to tell you. Yeah. I pushed through it. When you ran a marathon, I finished a marathon. And if you're watching a marathon, look at like hour 6, and you see like the zombies walking through, and there was like 8 of us that looked like the Walking Dead, kind of going to finish.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
Mile
That's so good.
26. I took a picture of it as I walked by, and a friend of mine was right there. He's like, "Oh, you want me to take a picture with the sign?" I'm like, if I stop, my body's just gonna shut down. So I didn't, and I just kept going. I finished
You
7 hours,
did.
the amount of time. I pulled a muscle on like mile 13. So
Oh,
the whole second half was just pain. But luckily, I ran the first half,
you did it.
the finish in time. So
So you ran a marathon with basically no training.
yeah.
Took you 7 hours, and you pulled the
Oh,
muscle.
no, under 7 hours.
Oh,
I
okay.
almost
Under
said
seven
that. I'm not
hours.
sure what my time was, but I was,
That is cool.
yeah.
That is such a good story because you did it. Checked it off. It's just things you get to check off the list at the same time. So tell me, and I know I want to ask about your kids because I know how important they are to you. I mean, even just seeing your smile on your face when I just said that. Like,
Yeah.
what is that? Just being a dad and making sure you spend time with them because you're running a business. Obviously, you said you have other businesses, radio show, all the things. How do you, I don't know how to ask, how do you make sure you spend time with them? What do you do? What have you?
Well, there's plenty of times I feel like I'm failing in that area of life, just like I feel like I'm failing in a lot of areas of life. Um, I had mentioned it earlier. Once I had my daughter, I said I'm not working at nights anymore, and I do that most days of the week. If I'm traveling, sometimes I'll have meetings 4 or 5 hours away, and I'll spend the night in a hotel. If that's the case, I'll work till 11 o'clock at night because I want to get as many meetings done so I don't have to do multiple trips. Um, that was one of the best things I could have done for my business because at first it sounded horrible. Most of my meetings were from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night because I was
Mm,
young people that didn't have control of their schedules. Well, as once I said that, people respected it. I mean, you don't try to meet with your dentist at 7 o'clock at night, but
no.
I was just like, I need to please everybody. So that was good for me from a business standpoint. But I do my best to never miss a sporting event or a dance event or musical things like that. Every now and again, when you're traveling, plane
Yeah.
wise, you can't make them all. So I'd love to say I got 100% record. Um, but it's pretty rare that I miss anything. Um, and I feel real bad about it or watch the recording if I do. And that's important to me. My parents were always there for those things. My dad traveled a lot. Um, but I know a lot of parents that are able to be at those things and just don't. Uh,
Mm,
and that teach their own. It's not
yeah.
me. It's not who I want to be. At the end of my life, I mean, my kids will remember me. My employees hopefully will look back in this stage of their life with positive memories, and the clients. I mean, my old business partner was such good friends with so many of these folks, and now when I see them, and he's been retired for 8 years, like, yeah, and who was that other guy? What was his name? How's he doing? And I'm like, I remember him tearing up, saying like, I'm sad that I'm not going to see these people anymore.
Oh,
And I knew they felt the same about him at the time, but just life passes.
it
But
does.
your kids will be with you forever. So I'm trying to be a good dad, but it's it's tough. And my ex-wife and I, that was the same thing when we decided to not be married anymore. She lives a block and a half away from me. It's
Good for
0.33
you.
miles exactly. Um, and we talk almost every day. I get to see the kids every day. So we plan that on purpose, which is not easy. A lot of people look at our relationship and they're like, "You guys have a weird relationship for ex spouses," and I mean we're we're good friends, but I still care about her. We're just not married anymore.
And you know this, I went through the same thing, and my ex told me it's never about us, it's always about the kids. And that's
Yeah.
living in that you live by that too, which is pretty cool. So
Well, and we're both very fortunate that both sides
yeah.
agree with that, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times we're just not so lucky that way. But
Make it easy. Thank you. But I truly appreciate it. How do people, when they listen to this, how do they find you? How do you find Neil Van Dam?
well, Van Dam, like van, like the vehicle, and dam, like beaver dam. So just vandamfinancialgroup.com is the easiest way. Otherwise, phone number 701-893-3710. Call our office. Carol will get you set up.
Love it. Thank you. I truly appreciate it,
Well, it
man.
was
I
fun
really,
catching up.
yeah, really was. Thanks for joining us on the Your Limitless Leadership Podcast with Jenny and Brent Widman. We hope today's conversation inspired you to think differently about leadership, not just in your career, but in every part of your life. Remember, leadership starts with leading yourself first. It's about taking action, making bold decisions, and showing up with purpose. Now, it's time to take what you've heard today and put it into practice. Whether it's in your business, your community, your family, or your own personal growth, start leading without limits. You have the power to become the leader you're meant to be. Until next time, keep pushing your boundaries and leading with purpose.